On this episode, What is this episode about? Welcome to Save Every Universe. I am a resilient young princess, frustrated by my inability to use the power of the sacred prophecy to save my kingdom from calamity.
And I am Robbie, a friendly neighborhood hero who's teamed up with my former rival to stop a psychopath and his girlfriend from destroying New York City.
Very nice. And who were you last week?
Last week I was Captain Falcon.
Awesome. The last time I was Sarge from Army Men, the old top-down PC game where you plastic military guys where you run around and shoot the tans and the blues.
That was a good game.
It was a great game.
Kind of like a strategy game, but
Yeah.
also like a commando squad.
Almost
like Warcraft 3.
I think you got guys to follow you around and shoot people and stuff like that. But you had to rescue POWs. It was it kind of sounded intense, but it was very tongue-in-cheeky. But it was you got to save your boys. But then it was
yeah, I remember
plastic.
every time you got a med kit, he'd be like, that takes the
Yeah, that's right.
I still say that
And
sometimes.
the flamethrower, it would just melt them.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
You could get a magnifying glass too. Remember? As a
Oh
weapon.
yeah, they did
weapon.
they did. I mean, it went through a bunch of iterations. They had Army Men 2, Army Men in Space, Army Men Sarge's Heroes. They did a 3D one when PlayStation came out.
Sarge's Heroes.
Yeah, it was a good series. So today we are talking about class in games and whether it makes or breaks the overall gaming experience. I'll be totally honest. This topic confused me a bit because I don't know if I play enough games to have a super strong opinion on this. The few games that I do play, I don't know. I have some points that I want to make on this, but I'm going to open the floor to you, sir. What do you have on the docket?
Okay, so it's my experience that, RPGs are a little more towards this, but I think first-person shooters and other things apply to this concept. And I find, if I'm playing a game and it's got a class I like or a playstyle that favors me, I really enjoy it. Right. And even if it's a really good game, but I can't play certain ways, I lose interest. I don't want to play the game.
All right.
So
what are those? How would you describe your playstyle? What's an example?
Well, and over the time, I would say that's I've gotten I've broadened my horizons. Yeah. I used to never play a game with stealth.
Right.
I hated being stealthy.
Oh, interesting.
In Metal Gear Solid, I would break that silencer off that gun and just go to town.
Yeah.
I would get the FAMAS and just run and gun up the steps. I'd get the Infinity bandana and just go nuts.
You didn't? Okay, so maybe that's why I sort of took issue with this topic, is because I actually enjoy, let's use Battlefield as an example, right? The assault class is the go-to class. It's you have a machine gun, you have an anti-tank gun, you can do a lot of things, and there's a lot of versatility, and it's the really easy way to start and just jump into the game, and that's what most people play. But I actually really enjoy the challenge of switching over to a different class and having to completely change my playstyle. I enjoy that challenge, and I feel the same with Destiny. I feel the same way with that, going from, because I like Warlock. I favor Warlock, even though they get a lot of flack. Insert flack there, Robbie.
Well,
But I like going, when I started a Hunter, I started a Titan. I don't know. I kind of enjoy the process of the challenge of having to adopt my playstyle, adapt.
Well, like I said, as I've gotten older and more experienced with games, I think I enjoy that as well. However, I have to be won over first. I have to have
That's fair.
A foundation.
Yeah.
So in Battlefield 1, when we first started playing it, I thought it kind of sucked. Yeah. And I didn't have, because I couldn't find a class or gun or anything that
fit
I liked.
your style.
I sucked at everything. You were telling me how great it was.
Yeah.
I would spawn, get gunned down, and you would even say, try this gun, try that gun. And I hated it. I hated everything you suggested. And it's not really your fault. I think it's just because we play differently.
Yeah.
And then I found the Lewis gun in the support class. Yeah. And you were like, that's terrible. I hate that gun. And I loved it. I thought it was the best. I got all kinds of kills.
But you didn't do well with Assault, and you hate the Sniper class.
I didn't like Medic.
Yeah.
I thought I'd like Medic. I didn't like Medic.
Yeah.
And now I'm starting to kind of branch out a little bit, and I'm trying other stuff out.
Gotta have sort of a gateway drug almost into that game. Yeah.
Right. And the same is true with Destiny for me. I liked trying out Warlock and Hunter and other things, but I have to have a go-to.
Right.
I've got something that I'm willing to go frolicking in.
Right.
But I gotta have that class that when the world's about to end, that's how I'm gonna stop it.
Yeah.
And if I don't feel that, I don't know, superhuman godliness, whatever,
right,
I'm not going to get into the game.
Yeah.
I'm going to kind of be like, well, I suck in real life. No need to play this game.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I do.
So that's kind of what I wanted to talk about as far as and surely you have play styles or games that everyone liked or there was buzz about, and you're like, well, that kind of sucks to me?
Yeah, actually, you know what? Yeah, I guess that's true. I mean, like Titan on Destiny is like a class that like that's what a lot of people seems like a lot of people like, and it just wasn't for me. It's like pretty good. Like I see the versatility of it. I get it. It was pretty fun to have as an alt, but I would take Hunter or Warlock over that any day of the week. But I know there's a lot of people who feel differently. So yeah, I can see that. I can see where you're coming from at least.
So one thing about class play in a game that's so cool is somebody can explain to you the numbers. Somebody can explain to you the utilitarian. In WoW, if like making your gear and skills, it'd be called like max min, maximum, minimum.
Oh yeah.
Somebody can talk numbers to you all day.
Yeah.
But playing games is more than that. It's an experience.
You actually get feel for something that is like technically inferior, but it fits your play style. So you do better with it than someone else might.
Yeah, and I have a huge history of that in games, of somebody telling me what's supposed to be the best and me saying, fuck you, I'm playing what I like. In World of Warcraft, I played a Retribution Paladin.
Yeah.
They were the worst class.
Yeah.
Pretty much for my entire time playing it. And everyone was like, why do you play that?
Yeah.
You're asking to suck. But I liked it. I liked the character. I liked the way it looked aesthetically. I liked the lore for what it was worth.
Yeah, so okay, so there was a character that was supposed to be bad, but if you play with it correctly, you can be pretty good, right? So
you can be pretty good, and you don't care as much,
right?
In my head, that outweighs the numbers,
right?
You know?
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Well, so I've made a mistake in the past as a younger man of when people were trying out class-based games or RPGs or WoW or whatever. You want to help them, so you think you're helping them by saying, well, you got to play a Warlock because their DPS is so sick. And you think you're helping them, but they're like, well, who's this guy? Well, fuck that guy. You don't want to play him.
Yeah.
You don't want to play that job in Final Fantasy or whatever, even in the old RPGs, you know. If you're playing Chrono Trigger and you want to use certain characters... Oh, this chick has fire. She sucks. Don't use her. Yeah. You're actually ruining the game for that person.
Right. For them to find their own class, their own style that actually fits them.
Yeah, and this is interesting to me because in my experience, you and I play completely differently.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, what did you play in Diablo 2? What was your go-to?
I actually in that one, and I never go for magic classes, but it was I don't remember what they called it in Diablo 2. It was just wizard or warlock or something like that. But like the guy who would do the ice spells and all that stuff, that was the one I enjoyed the most.
Right.
And for no other reason, I usually don't play those kind of classes in those types of games.
Right.
Yeah.
So one thing I was kind of interested to ask you was, do you find that, and that kind of answers it a little bit, are you consistent? What are some of your like consistent staples through like RPGs or even just loud versus stealth? Like, what are some of your consistent staples that you always come back to, given the choice? So I'll give you some easy examples just so you can go off of that. Okay. In like a traditional, we'll say RPG, there's like a tank, who is the brute.
Right.
Keeps the boss on them, doesn't do as much damage.
Yeah.
There's the damage dealer. There's ranged, melee, whatever.
Yeah.
There's healers. You know, they keep everyone alive.
Right.
Then that's just
never
the, like, traditional.
That is like my last. That's last on the list always.
Really?
Yeah. I hate it.
But you liked medic in Battlefield.
Yeah, only because of the
guns.
The guns. Yeah. The auto. It's too much responsibility to always be picking people's asses up.
Too much responsibility.
Yeah, but the single loading, like the semi-automatic rifle, it was a nice balance between assault and so I would say that too. Like I go back and forth now in Battlefield between assault and I'll play assault for a good stretch and then I'll switch to sniper for a good stretch, and I think that's how I tend to play. Sometimes like on a Diablo type game, I'll play like a barbarian type class where I can just go and beat the shit out of things, and then sometimes I like to hang back and do high damage from range and sort of squirrel around,
which is crazy because those are like the exact opposite.
Yeah, and I think that's what I enjoy about those class-based games is I don't enjoy it if I can be one or if I can be the other. I like doing both.
The diversity.
Yeah.
Have you experienced it where they didn't give you that diversity and it kind of ruined the game for you?
So, okay, that's interesting. That's something I wanted to talk about, is that is actually I was thinking about this as we were preparing for this episode, is that's almost one of my beefs with Destiny a little bit, is that the classes they have to balance them, but like it's almost like Destiny's a little too flat, right? Like in Diablo 2 or any of those other games, or Diablo 2, Diablo period 3 or whatever. there's a little bit more diversity, and there's like you really have to adjust your play style to like hang back and fire from a range and that kind of thing. And Destiny, because it is a little bit more geared toward casual players and toward the masses, it's a little flatter. Like there's not as much distinction between the classes. I don't feel like
it's true. When Destiny 1 came out, I was watching a video that was complaining about Destiny 1, and it was like, play Destiny 1, choose any class you want, and it only matters once every 5 minutes.
Right.
Like, it only mattered when you popped your super.
And even then, it's like kind of negligible. Like,
yeah, and I think, and maybe in our minds, we've deepened those divides maybe more than is actually there.
Yeah.
But to me, the nuances are huge, right? Especially coming from putting in however many 800 hours or whatever I've put in.
It shows bigger on raids where you have to use those supers cooperatively to take down a big boss or whatever like that. But if you're playing Crucible, like it's like certain supers can be as deadly as any other super. Like Golden Gun can be as deadly as a Titan's Hammers, can be as deadly as a like the Lightning class on the Warlock, just shocking everyone down. Like, I don't know. Like, they're not that different. I don't know.
So that bugs you, though.
It doesn't. Sometimes I wish they were a little bit different, but I get why they're not. So, but that's the thing that kept, as we were preparing for this episode, that's the thing I kept thinking was about, classes are about balance, right? To a certain degree, that it has to be rewarding for any player playing any class, but at the same time, it needs to fit that personal style. That's an incredibly difficult thing, actually, from like a development standpoint. And so it doesn't bother me in Destiny just because I know what Destiny is, right? And so it's not a huge deal. But I really, when I started my alts here at the end of Destiny 1, I didn't feel like there was this massive shift from playing Warlock to playing Hunter to playing Titan, in the same way that there would be a big shift in going from like a barbarian type class to like a mage type class in any other game.
And that's like night and day, right?
Right.
I did have one experience though. I was playing Destiny. I always play my Titan, and I decided to take my Hunter on a raid. Yeah. On a raid, and I'd never taken him on a raid before, and I thought, big whoop. Yeah. Like it's Destiny. I've played the crap out of Destiny.
Right.
And I normally in raids, like, I don't miss throws, I don't botch things, and I did on my Hunter. Yeah. And I actually got heckled for this because I made the mistake of saying out loud, I missed? Like, I was so surprised that I missed a throw because it was just that much different doing the double jump with the physics of the throw.
And the grenades and stuff, like the way the stick grenade on the Hunter is different than like a sticky grenade with a Warlock. It's different. Yeah. But it's
I was like, everyone's like, yeah, what happens? It's like, no, I don't miss. Like, I still didn't think about how arrogant that sounded, you know? So as a running joke, oh yeah, bring Ignis, he doesn't miss. Yeah. But like, it was so weird missing a throw and being like, that would have worked on my Titan. Yeah. I ran it again the next week on my Titan, didn't miss. Like, it was weird, that strange nuance in the physics. Yeah. After so many hours, like, it kind of messed me up. Right. How would I explain that to somebody who didn't play it? Like, it's tough to explain.
I think they are more nuances.
It is nuances.
Instead of it being like these big, like, strategic jumps or something like that. Because even Battlefield, going from assault to going to sniper is... You have to play very, very differently to survive and get kills. And
yeah, that's true. You know, have you found, so if you like to kind of play differently like that, have you found maybe fighting games to follow the same logic?
I hate fighting games.
You hate fighting games?
We've never talked about this on the podcast, I don't think. I don't like fighting games.
Really?
Yeah.
We've played them together.
Like, when was the last time?
Well, I haven't played fighting games in a while, but yeah that's true.
I downloaded Injustice because it was a free game on PlayStation Network, and I played it. I played through the story. I played maybe 4 or 5 rounds. I was like, okay, that's kind of cool. And I just walked away. I do not like fighting games. I feel like most fighting games, and this is like a balance thing too, right? Like, they end up balancing and balancing and balancing stuff, but it's never really ever balanced. And I don't know. I've had too many incidents where fighting games favored button mashers that I just kind of lost my taste for them a long time ago, and I have zero desire to like give another fighting game a shot.
Really?
Yeah.
So is it that lack of true diversity that bugs you?
I don't know. They just feel so tight. I don't feel like there's any... We've never talked about this. No, I don't think even off the podcast.
No, we haven't.
They just feel so... They're overly structured, I think, for me. There's no place to maneuver or go or re-strategize. Like that's part of what I like so much about Battlefield. It's like if I'm getting sniped over and over and over here, like I like the problem solving ability to be like, okay, I'm going to flank around, I'm going to switch class, I'm going to flank around this way and take care of this. But it's like just this 2D jumping around, kicking each other in the face. There's like, I don't know, it favors button mashers, and then there's just no, I feel like stuck most of the time I'm playing. Maybe it's just because I'm so terrible at them, but like I feel so limited that it's not even fun for me in most fighting games.
I see. So have you found like when you, I guess this is true even in the old like Diablo 2 and RPGs, do you change it up a lot? Do you like rotate your classes or rotate whatever you're playing? I know in Destiny you couldn't do that as much, but you juggled your guns a lot too.
Yeah.
You'd be like, I'm going Zalo all the time, and then a week later you'd be like, I'm never using Zalo again. Yeah. It's gone forever.
And then I would bring it back.
I'm a hand cannon guy now.
Yeah, so, and I did hand cannons for a while. But so I play with, like, that's how I play when it comes to like classes or guns or different sets of stuff, is I play until I hit a wall, sort of, and I feel like I'm plateauing, and then I switch gear sets. So to me, that's like, I want to feel like I'm always improving or always getting better or always adapting when I'm playing games. We've never talked about any of this. This is so weird.
Cool.
But that's how that's part of the joy of playing those types of games, is feeling like I'm always getting better in some area or another, and sometimes that means switching gears, switching loadouts, or switching classes. I feel like I plateau if I stay with one class or one set of gear for too long.
Really?
But you got to stay with it long enough that you're not constantly bouncing around and you're never getting good at anything.
Yeah, you don't need the master.
So I usually wait till I feel like I'm just grinding and I'm plateauing, and then I'll change my gear setup. I'll go from sniper rifle to fusion rifle in Destiny. I'll go from assault to sniper in Battlefield. Yeah, I'll go from barbarian to mage in something. Yeah.
So it doesn't matter what game, but I wouldn't say I'd experience that the same way. I always I really build up that base.
Yeah.
I will use just hand cannons.
Yeah.
Until I want to puke. Right. Like I want to be that good with it. I want to be able to close my eyes. When I was playing, people were like, Hawk Moon's pretty good. It's not that great.
Yeah.
I killed every raid boss you can imagine with Hawk Moon. Yeah. I will kill everything and do everything with that hand cannon until I'm sick, until I can close my eyes and know what the animations are. And then I'll branch out, because I feel like I always have that to fall back on. Yeah. So then if I'm screwing around with something else, I'm like, well, I'm fucked, whatever. Yeah. Pull out Hawk Moon or whatever. And that's true for every game. Like in Diablo 2, I was playing a paladin, and I played that. I don't think I ever branched out in Diablo 2. Like I just played a paladin.
In your MMOs, it seems like you play something like that pretty consistently.
Yeah, it's only like in 14
like a
that
knight
I've actually gotten away from that a little bit. But most of my life, I was just set on that one thing, and I grinded it into the ground.
I think that's where we're different. Like I want variety, and I need some change, and I want to feel like I'm getting better in different areas, and you are more tortoise, slow and steady.
Yeah, I'll pick that one thing and ride it straight to hell. So I'll get so obsessed that if the new game coming out, like when Diablo 3 came out, it didn't have a paladin.
Right.
Crusader came out later. Yeah. I seriously considered not buying the game. Yeah. I was like, well, why would I play it?
Yeah.
I played Paladin 2. If Paladin 3 doesn't have paladins in it, I'm not playing. I was that hung up on it.
Yeah.
It's a little bit of a mistake, right? Because that's just being stubborn and set in your ways to some degree.
Yeah.
And I ended up playing like a barbarian in Diablo 3.
Right.
And then when Crusader came out, I liked my barbarian more.
Yeah. Barbarian was awesome in Diablo 3. They really got it right.
I can't actually stand it's Crusader, but I can't stand my paladin.
Right.
I've played him stubbornly. I was like, this will be my new guy. I'm going to love this guy. Yeah. And I took him all the way to max level and got in-game gear and was like, I can't stand this guy. I want to play my barbarian.
Yeah.
It's crazy that happened.
Yeah.
But it's only because I was willing to branch out.
Yeah.
And I find that, but I still find as a rule, I have my one go-to class. Mm-hmm. I think it comes from, to some degree, getting good, so good, having these crazy epic moments that you probably couldn't have pulled off unless you were that good.
Right.
Like my brother and I doing world PvP in World of Warcraft. It's only because I had spent that much time playing a class that everyone said sucked. Yeah. People wouldn't take me seriously. I'd win in a PvP match because I put in the time.
Yeah.
I really thought it through.
I think there is something to that though too. There's trends, right? Like in online everything. You'll see loadouts where everyone has the same gear on something, or and And I think that's where you and I are similar, where it's like if someone says something sucks, it's like, oh, okay, I'm going to get that, and like I'm going to get good with that thing. Whereas if it's like everyone is using this thing, it's like, you know what, I'm going to avoid that for a little while.
Delete. I fucking hate that.
It's kind of the zig when other people are zagging kind of thing. And
which can be stupid too, right?
Oh yeah, I mean some gear and some guns are just garbage, but
no, but I mean it's almost equally stupid. Like, let's say I love the Hawk Moon, and then everyone switches to it, and I go, well, fuck the Hawk Moon.
Right.
This one day, I love my son, and then everyone's like, your son's a really cool kid. I'm like, well, I don't want him. I'm putting him up for adoption. You know what I mean? Like, there's almost like that stupid though to be like, you loved something, and now because everyone else loves it, I don't love it anymore. That's equally dumb.
Yeah.
But I can't help it. Like, I wouldn't do that with my son.
Well, like the Zalo Supercell is like the electricity machine gun or assault rifle on Destiny is like most people didn't use it, and like it almost offended me when there was like a month or two where it kind of came back in vogue, and it kind of offended me that everyone was like jumping on the bandwagon. It was like one of those things like
before it was
bitches.
Cool.
Exactly.
I always use this gun.
You don't even understand. Yeah,
it's true. I did that with some of the year one guns, with some of the hand cannons.
Yeah,
when they sucked, but at the same time, I do take some joy in finding, especially if it's like they call that the meta game, like the guns or whatever. When people say this is the gun that's unbeatable, I like to beat it. I like to find a way to beat it. I try and resist my rebellious urge when I know I legitimately love something. Yeah. And then I'm like, well, fuck that. I hate it. I'm never going to use this again. Because that's equally like illogical and rash and maybe too angsty to react that way. But you're right. We both kind of, well, fuck that. I'm not using it.
Yeah, I think that's where we're similar in how we game. But I don't know. Like going back to the original question of like, does class make or break an overall experience? And I don't know. For me, at least, I don't know that it does. If it's like a well-made game, if it went like we talked about a few episodes ago or whatever about betas and stuff like that, like if they did their job and if they balanced it and if they, there's advantages that are equal but different kind of thing that are like, a sniper's doesn't have the same strengths as assault, but a sniper can, pop from a distance or whatever. It's like those, if a game is well balanced correctly, like you should be able to pick up any class, and even if it's not totally your play style, the game should still be good enough to stand up to where you're like, okay, I'd like to switch to this, but like it's not a deal breaker that I played a couple rounds as a sniper. I still enjoyed that game. Yeah.
I don't know. For me, it can be. I want to say it breaks it. Yeah. I want to say that, except that I can't think of an example where I've truly never played it. Yeah. I told you, they didn't put paladins in Diablo 3. Right. I still bought it. I still played it. I still played a barbarian and learned to love it. Yeah. And then in 14, when it first released, I didn't like any of the classes. Yeah. I haven't stopped playing it. Yeah. They only recently came out with the class that I've been wanting this whole time. Yeah. I think it's been out for like 3 years. Right. I never stopped. I bitched. I complained. Yeah. But I still played it. Yeah. So I think it's because a game that's built well and polished enough, you can do that, right? You can kind of get over it.
Okay. Yeah. So counterpoint to this is, you remember back in the day, and this kind of goes back to like how games came out in betas and then they release a piece of crap and then they fix it later. Yeah. Back in the day, they couldn't do that. And in some of the games, like the original Halo 1, there were guns that were great. And then there were guns that were like funny, but kind of sucked. Yeah. And sometimes you would get stuck with that gun. And it was like this fun challenge to like be behind the 8 ball, to like be at a disadvantage and just fight harder. Yep. And I was reading this thing.
It was also humiliating to get killed by someone.
Right. And there was almost a fun, there's like such a push right now. And this is the counter argument to the whole beta balance everything's equal, everything's fair shit, is that there is funness to the challenge of like being at a disadvantage and overcoming that. It is kind of going away, that everything gets nerfed every patch that happens every other week. And it's, I don't know. Those are kind of the things that you talk about as a gamer later on, where you're like, yo, remember when Thorn used to be this, or remember when this gun was great, or this class did this,
and I won anyway.
And I beat that guy's ass when he was being cocky and he thought he could blah blah blah. Like there's some of that is like the narrative of gaming for a long time, that they just nerf stuff into oblivion and flatten games to the point where it's fair for everybody. But there's none of those like prickly fun things that's like, it is a little unfair, but the game's still fun. You know what I mean? And I was reading this thing about table gamers, and I got in some forums and stuff, and I didn't mean to read about table gamers, but it was cool. And they were talking about Dungeons and Dragons and Advanced D&D. Is that a thing?
AD&D?
Yeah, that's it. And they were saying, there was a lot of people saying, like, who cares if it's balanced? Like, it should be about the cooperative experience with people, and it should be about the story, and it should be about all these other things. And sometimes you're gonna get killed, and sometimes you're gonna win, and but that's really not it being balanced isn't like the goal of the game. The goal of the game is for it to be fun and for it to be collaborative.
Right.
And I think there's something to that has gotten lost, that the table gamers like believe in, that has gotten lost in as like table games like evolved and grew up into video games in some ways, in a different realm.
Actually, I'm glad you brought that up, because one point I wanted to bring up was that, so many of these class-based ideas came from table games, right?
Yeah.
And so table games wouldn't have had that concern, right? As much.
Right.
Because it was all about the narrative,
right?
Especially for like Dungeons and Dragons, it was all about the experience with your friends.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that there were plenty of guys who played funny things just to be funny.
Well, and some of the points that these people were making was that like a good dungeon master will know like what the different things are going on with different players and that kind of thing. And some of that stuff that's like, you're at a disadvantage and here's what you're in for, strap in, buddy. It's going to be quite a ride.
Yeah.
Like some of that is missing from gaming, I feel like. And I get why they balance everything. I get why it has to appeal to the masses. I get all that. And for the most part, it's good. But I don't know. There is something missing in that element of gaming where it's just like, yep, you're fucked. Like, have fun.
Yeah.
And it is fun.
True.
And it is fun to overcome that challenge.
Yeah. I guess I hadn't thought about that in quite that way, but I did. Yeah. I don't know. Those are some of the best moments too. Like, especially back in Halo and beating a whole team with a plasma pistol or whatever.
Or like a needler, where you run around with a needler. And just
And sometimes it was that same, even now, sometimes that's how you find cool gems.
Right.
Maybe you realize that something's better than you thought.
Right.
Because you're willing to pick up the goofy gun. Or you're willing to...
Yeah.
I remember getting so many kills with a needler and not realizing, hey, I'm pretty good with a needler.
Yeah.
Everyone thought it was a joke.
Yeah.
And then I picked one up and was like, I just killed everyone with a needler.
Right.
I can do this consistently.
Yeah.
And then everyone's saying, oh, put the fucking needler down, kill him, don't let him get the needler. Like, it turning into this whole, thing.
Yeah.
I think balancing and patching kills that, right? Because if that would have been true now, they would have patched it.
Yeah.
Now, it's weird because when Destiny first came out and they said they wanted there to be seasons of guns.
Yeah.
They said they want to have they want everybody to look back and say, remember when Thorn was really good?
Right.
Yeah, I had one. They changed it. But it seems like even though they say that, they've really not kept it. I mean, some guns have been like super powerful for long periods of time, but for the most part, they don't leave it, except like really annoying things. Like, remember when shotguns killed everyone? Yeah. That was pretty much all of Destiny.
Right.
We fixed it at the very, very end. Yeah. And only kind of. We really just took the ammunition away. Like they didn't.
We didn't actually balance shotguns.
No. Yeah. And that wasn't really fun either. That was kind of like a fuck this kind of experience.
Right.
So that's a good point, that maybe some of that lack of polish and some of that quirkiness added to the actual enjoyment of the game.
Well, and almost from like a development standpoint, having the courage to leave some intentional imbalance in a game is like, I don't think it's always bad. Like a lot, like Battlefield 3 and 4, like a lot of people, like you were one of those folks who were like, oh, the snipers were such bullshit on that. I couldn't move without. And that was like one of the things I loved about Battlefield 3 was like having this huge open field and getting cornered by a sniper and then figuring out a way to flank him and beat him, or getting a jet and parachute down behind him and stab him in the throat. Like that was like part of the thrill and the challenge and why I loved Battlefield 3 so much. There was stuff that was off balanced, but it didn't ruin the game at all for me.
I suppose there is some courage in that, right? Because like, it's not like an author can go back and rewrite his book pretty much. I mean, sometimes there's revisions and stuff, but as a whole, you don't really see. I'm like, you know what? I don't like how that narrative arc worked out. I'm going to completely eliminate it. Or
well, like, is it balanced? Like as a criteria, as like, or not as a criteria, but as like the ultimate criteria to me is a bad criteria. Is it fun? Like that should outweigh always. Is it balanced?
Yeah,
for
and
everybody at all times, because that you can't do that anyway. Otherwise, why would they keep patching over and over? It's a false goal. You cannot get there. So the goal should be, is it fun? And then somewhere behind that should be, is it balanced?
Well, one complaint of Destiny 1 was the community suffered for PvP balances.
Right.
So guns that were fine in normal content, day-to-day stuff.
Yeah.
PvE, what have you.
Yeah.
Kind of got people who liked that gun got hosed because it was imbalanced in the Crucible.
Right.
And so Destiny, so Bungie would patch something, everyone felt the effects of it. Right. I don't see why you couldn't have things that behaved one way and balanced. You would even make a balanced playlist and a not balanced playlist.
Yeah, and in that context with Destiny, with the Crucible, it makes sense to where they sort of flatten things, because then it's about gunplay and reaction time and precision. And
if that's what you're going for.
It is more about skill. And that, to me, that's what the Crucible should be more about.
But not the rest of the game.
Yeah, but PvE, why not have these guns that have kind of these imbalances and stuff like that? That's fun. Finding those quirks of those different guns as you're playing with friends. And yeah, agreed.
Yeah, I think that added to the charm. Yeah, I don't know. I still feel it's hard for me to get motivated though if the class is broken.
Yeah.
Or if it's if there's nothing that wows me about a class, it's really hard for me to get into the game.
Right.
I don't feel that way about Destiny 2 or anything.
Right.
But, it can be a challenge, or sometimes it can go the other way. I've actually experienced it's all so wonderful. What will I play?
Right.
In Destiny 1 during the open beta, we've talked a lot about Destiny over the last couple episodes, but I wanted to play a hunter.
Yeah.
It had Nathan Fillion as the trainer.
Right.
They were gunslingers. They were these rogues and outlaws, and I thought that was super cool.
Yeah.
But when I played them, I played like a Titan. I wanted to get in the middle of everyone. I wanted to beat the shit out of everybody with my fist. And I would try and play a hunter, and I kept trying to be like, that's not how you play a hunter. That's not how you play a hunter. And I died over and over and over. And so finally I was like, I'm going to play a Titan because
it fits your play style better.
Yeah. And as much as I wanted to be the best hunter ever, I had to just kind of go with.
Right.
So it was kind of weird. That was a weird time for me because mentally I was like, I want to be a hunter. But I couldn't do it.
Well, to me, that's when it's a game that has different classes, that is the sign of a good game, though. Otherwise, alts wouldn't exist. Alts wouldn't be a thing, right? You have your core thing, and it's fun to go out and play other styles for a little while, even if you have your core thing. But the game offers enough in those other play styles that it's fun to go out into those other worlds for a little while before you come home to your core, whatever it is that fits your play style.
Come home.
Yeah.
We had when we were in college, we ate at the cafeteria every day, and we'd get kind of sick of everything. Yeah. And we had a chicken green chili burrito. And we called it Old Faithful. Yeah. Because when everything else failed, we'd be like, well, it's a pretty decent
we'd take
burrito.
A spin through the whole cafeteria, and it's nothing looks good.
Well, Old Faithful won't let us down.
Old Reliable.
So it's kind of like having the Old Reliable. Yeah. I don't know if you've seen a lot about it. What do you think Anthem's going to do with the class thing? Do you think they're going to... I saw that they have classes in it. Yeah. But in the gameplay demo I saw, it didn't look super... It looked a little bit flattened.
So I think that, like Destiny-ish, it's going to be similar. I think the class system is going to be fairly flat. It's going to be fairly token customization, token class system without any real differences. Because those real differences are harder to balance. And if you want a game that's collaborative, where casual people can all sort of jump in and go play a couple missions, I think it's too much strategy and it's too much commitment for someone who's playing Destiny or someone who's playing Anthem to think that much, honestly. That's where those games are going. That's where gaming in a mainstream sense is going, is less thinking, more playtime.
I think that's maybe still why I still go back to MMOs some, though. Yeah. Because the classes are really different. Yeah. You play them all super differently. 14's kind of cool because it's the same character and you just change your job whenever you want. Yeah. I like that diversity. Right. I like being able to come back to Old Faithful, but I still also like when I'm playing with other players to be like, oh, he's very different. We're contributing very different things to this fight. And I think for me, I kind of miss that a little bit. Yeah. I kind of hope Destiny 2 with the new stuff they're putting in add some more of that diversity.
I don't think that's going to happen. I think the Destiny 2, I'm excited for Destiny 2, but I think it's going to be a much more casual, open, approachable thing, which is fine. But you just have to know what it is. But that's also why I like to play chess as well, because you actually have to think about what you're doing. And Destiny's more of a pick it up and shoot some aliens kind of thing.
Yeah,
get a new piece of gear and whatever. That's just about our time. Do you have any closing thoughts on this one?
No, I'm glad to see that you managed to come up with something. Since you were so, I don't know what to talk about on this.
Yeah, we kind of had a lot to talk about after, when I first saw this topic, I was like, what does that mean? I don't even have anything to say on that.
I did kind of insist that we talk about it, but I'm glad we did. I think we got some good points. I don't know. It's a tough balance, right? To put that many things in that isn't just garbage or unfair, but I don't love the flattening out. Personally.
Yeah, and I think it's kind of what we talked about with E3, where it's for these studios to make money, they have to put out something that has mass appeal and is accessible and all these things. But
I think as long as there are games that have those types of stark differences, MMOs, I'll probably always have one I'm playing. And
I think those games will always be niche fringe games that cater to the gamer who wants something a little different, something a little bit off the beaten path. I think those will always exist, but they'll always be coming from small studios and that kind of thing. Smaller studios.
Or just RPGs in general. It's not like Square Enix is a small studio.
Yeah, I don't know. I just don't like Square games. I guess that's why I kind of blocked them out of that comment.
Okay, how about you?
But I appreciate that you like them. I respect that about you.
No, you don't.
I know. I don't. I really don't.
You have any closing thoughts?
No, I really don't. I echo what you said. I'm not totally a fan of the flattening out in general, but I get why they do it. And in general, I'm excited for Destiny 2. And there have been some comments. I was just watching a couple videos on YouTube about people complaining that Battlefield even is getting a little too casual and a little too flat and a little too...
Really?
Yeah, a little too open to casuals, and sort of that strategic different classes and stuff like that is kind of going away for the hardcore Battlefield people. I don't know. So it's interesting, but it does seem to be that is where the industry is going. So I don't know. I think it's going to always be embrace the mainstream for what it is. It's not going to change. It's going to go, and you have to appeal to the masses. But as gamers or whatever, it's fun to find those games on the fringe that also cater to those other I don't know, off the beaten path, not the stuff that frankly doesn't fit the mainstream. It takes a little more effort to get into. I think that stuff is great as well.
Cool.
Thank you for listening to Save Every Universe. If you enjoyed this episode, please go listen to every other episode. Agree more. My yoga instructor, when I was in a Shavasana,
I don't know what that word
really encouraged me to tap into my joy, and just having you here makes me feel like I'm in a Shavasana. Does that make sense?
It kind of does, because I am your yoga instructor.